Todd Stittelberg with Antler King. We got Robbie Pruitt with me today, our product specialist. Want to talk about the importance of testing your soil, what you're really looking for in a soil test, and we're going to talk a little bit about our do-it-yourself instant test that allows you to take 4 different pH tests on your property. So Rob, how do you take a soil test and what all is involved?
Well, I get a lot of calls on these and people really want to know, how do I do it? What do I need? So I kind of laid out a few things here that I use. When I do a soil test, I like getting a soil sample out of all 4 corners and 1 in the center of the plot. I use a trusty little garden little spade there. I go through, I'll get my 4 tests, I'll put them in my bucket, I'll kind of mix them up with my wooden dowel here. Then I will take an 8-ounce dirt sample, pour it in, and then 8 ounces of distilled water. You got to use distilled water. Yeah. Stir that up into a slurry, let it set for about 10 minutes or so, and then you can, as you'll show here in a little bit with the strips and stuff in there, how the strips work, and dip the strip in there and just go off your sheet there to see what your level is.
So great point. If you've got a square food plot, you're taking basically 5 different spots within that field, but you're co-mingling them then, mixing them up with your dowel.
Yep.
It looks like you've taken a few samples before.
Yes, I have. Yep, quite a bit.
And then basically you're going to take a reading, if you will, from that group of 5. And really there's 4 different litmus strips in this kit, and you dip in one of the litmus strips. You had mentioned distilled water. You're exactly right. Distilled water has a neutral pH. You don't want to use your tap water. You don't want to use creek water, pond water. It has to have a neutral pH. So buy yourself some distilled water, and in a matter of, about 10 minutes, you're going to know what your pH is on that plot.
Yep.
And we've got a very, very handy dandy, very informational sheet that tells you if you're planting in clay soils or in rich dark soils or sandy soils, if your pH is 5.0, for example, here's how many pounds or tons of lime you're going to need to add to bring your pH up to a 6 or a 6.5 or a 7.
Yep.
And a 7 is really what we want to shoot for.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'll let you explain the importance of why we want to shoot for that 7.0, especially in light of today's fertilizer prices.
Well, that pH, that 7.0 is going to let that plant utilize 100% of that fertilizer you're putting down. So the lower your pH, the more money you're pretty much wasting by putting a bunch of fertilizer out there that the plants can't utilize. So, get that pH up to a 7.0. All the money you're going to use for fertilizer is going to go into that plot, and the plants are going to be able to absorb it and grow well from it.
Exactly right. And there's some species, you take alfalfa for example. There is no sense planting alfalfa until your pH is at a 7.0.
Exactly.
It's a plant that simply cannot live in an environment that has a pH of less than 7.
Right. Yep.
It may grow in a pH of a 6.5, but it's not going to last.
Right.
So, step number 1, check that plot, and really what we're looking for is the pH level first of all.